About Topic 4. Topic 4. Nature, the environment and energy. The nature, the environment and energy topic includes fossil fuels and renewable fuels, climate change, threats to the environment, deforestation, pollution, etc., and their effects, the biosphere, and animal life, human attitudes to animals. In this topic, remember to show that you can write in an impersonal, academic way, even if you feel strongly about something. Remember that emotional words such as terrible, shocking, disgusting, or wonderful, fantastic, brilliant cannot be used in academic English essays of this type. You can use academic English such as regrettable, worrying, inadvisable, or admirable, helpful, invaluable instead, which are more accepted in these situations. This topic is often used for ideas, cause-effect type tasks. Topic 4. Example task. Pollution of rivers, lakes, and seas is a major concern for people who seek to protect the environment. What are the possible causes of water pollution, and what effects does this have on animal life and human society? Explanation of the task. This is an ideas, causes effects type task. It does not ask for your opinion, but it wants you to think of some possible ideas on the topic. You should introduce the topic, describe 2 or 3 causes, then 2 or 3 effects, and then summarize briefly. Band 9 Model Essay. Water contamination is a serious form of pollution, and one that can be challenging to rectify. There seem to be 2 main causes involved, and a variety of damaging effects on people and the biosphere, which we will discuss here. Probably the main factor is the issue of emissions from cars, factories, and other human activities. These emissions contain damaging pollutant particles which can contaminate rainwater runoff, and thus enter the water cycle by transferring through the water table into aquifers, streams, and rivers. Filtration and processing are not really viable options for such large volumes of water, and so the water table remains tainted with these elements over long periods, as we see in Eastern Europe today. In situations where soil erosion and logging have already damaged the local environment, the accumulation can be very serious. The other major cause is accidental or deliberate dumping of waste products in places outside of controlled landfills or waste processing centers. Even small amounts of abandoned waste can enter water supplies through the ground, often undetected. The effects on animal life can be severe, especially for species which are already endangered by such threats as poaching, habitat loss, and food chain disruption. Contaminated water can lead to dwindling numbers or even potential extinction, as may indeed happen to the Asian tiger populations. The impact on human society can also be distressing, including the poisoning of drinking water, famine, or drought due to lack of safe irrigation, and long-term loss of land, as we see, for example, after the Bhopal poisoning catastrophe in India. Such effects tend to have an especially grave impact on the very poorest in society, with the least resources to counter the environmental effects. Overall, we see that emissions and dumping are the main origins of the problem, and that the effects on both humans and animals are exacerbated by the existing environmental, criminal, or social problems. 316 words. Explanation of the topic, vocabulary and examples in speaking. Contamination equals pollution by poisons or dangerous elements. The atmosphere in large cities is often contaminated by smog, as we can see in China. The biosphere equals the relationship between all living things on the planet. Children should be educated on the biosphere through field trips and practical experiments. Emissions equals gases entering the atmosphere. Scientists spend their whole careers studying the effect of emissions on the climate. Pollutant particles equals microscopic elements of pollution. I remember going to a factory and seeing the snow covered with pollutant particles. Runoff equals water that runs from the ground into rivers and lakes. We should try to collect and use more runoff water to avoid having to recycle water so much. The water cycle equals the natural process of water moving from clouds to rain and seas. Scientists believe the water cycle is responsible for various natural events, especially in coastal areas. Aquifers equals underground, natural water stores. My family have a well which connects to an aquifer, giving very pure water. Filtration equals the process of filtering and removing impurities. Water filtration might be a solution to water shortages in very hot countries. Water table equals the layer of water below ground. In my town, the water table is very high, and water will appear in even a small hole. Tainted equals polluted or contaminated. The Mediterranean is badly tainted in some areas by sewage pollution. Soil erosion equals the loss of soil by wind and rain activity. Deforestation has increased soil erosion seriously in Brazil. Logging equals cutting down trees for timber and industrial use. Logging has endangered many species throughout the world. Dumping equals leaving waste deliberately without storing or treating it. In most countries, dumping rubbish is a criminal offense. Waste equals any material not wanted or needed after a process. In my country, we use waste from cotton manufacture for lighting fires. Landfills equals organized areas where waste is buried in the ground. Surprisingly, Britain still sends most of its domestic waste to landfill sites. Waste processing equals recycling or reducing waste into manageable forms. My brother has a waste processing company, which is subsidized by the local authority. Poaching equals illegally hunting and killing animals. Elephant poaching should be a much higher priority for the world authorities, as elephants are an endangered species. Habitat loss equals destruction or disappearance of an animal's natural home. Logging has caused substantial habitat loss for wildlife in many countries. Food chain equals the natural system of animals eating other animals and plants. The food chain has been disrupted by the loss of certain species, with widespread impacts on all animals. Dwindling numbers equals to dwindle equals to steadily decline in quantity. States seem to have dwindling funds to pay for animal sanctuaries, although they are still able to pay for government officials and their perks. Extinction equals the final death of all animals in a species.